Hey guys, we're Justin and Krista Welford, and it's Wednesday. So it is Wednesday with the Welfords. Thank you so much for taking time out to come out and invest in your relationship with God and others.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. We're about to go inside and get started, so we'll see you there. The verse is Titus 3:8, and it says, "This is a faithful saying, and these things I want you to affirm constantly." That's why we're repeating them, because the Bible said so. Affirm constantly that those who have believed in God should be careful to maintain good works. These things are good and profitable to men. So what we're saying, and we will continue to say, and we're going to say, and if you hang around FCA, you're going to hear a whole bunch, is that we need to be careful, we need to be consistent, and we need to leave people better than we found them. And so throughout all of the stuff we're talking about relationships, that is the idea. We are going to invest into people. We are going to be careful with people because the Bible says that power of life and death is right inside of our mouth. We can hurt people. We're going to be careful with people. We're going to be consistent in how we interact with people. If some of us are somewhat careful, but maybe people don't know what version of me or you they're going to get. So they may get this version of you today and this version of you tomorrow. What we're working on in our relationship with Christ is to maintain consistency, to develop some sort of stability in our lives. And then we're saying that we need to leave people better than we found them. So we're still using the idea of investing into people, pouring into people. The very first week we did this, we were talking about these emotional bank accounts, that we are investing into people because there's coming a time as I'm investing into someone, in terms of discipleship especially, there will be a time come when I am going to probably need to cash in that investment to say something that would otherwise cross the line. Because as you disciple people, inevitably you come to some pretty sticky... Listen, ministry's messy. Ministry's really messy. And so we have to be careful with people, as we said, and as we are investing into people, we do that, number one, because we love people, but secondly, because as we're discipling them, inevitably we're probably going to cross a line where we would otherwise hit a nerve and they need to know that we care about them. And so we're talking about investing into people. Culture of honor. Krista, what is culture of honor?
What is culture of honor? It is when we believe the best about people, we speak the best about people, and we leave people better than we found them. Now, these are people that are in our class, people that are in our life, but this is especially for people that we are in a close relationship with, and people that we are dating. Girls, speak the best about your man, believe the best about him, and leave him better than you found him. And that's I was talking to one of y'all the other day, and I was talking about, it super bothers me, and we may talk about this a little more next week, when I talk to women who downplay their husbands. I'm like, that's just, you don't put that out there. Like, the life and death is in the tongue. You don't speak things about your husband like that. And men, the same, I know it drives Justin crazy, and he'll do it sometimes just picking when people call their woman
my old lady.
My old lady.
Good gosh.
That's
my old lady.
That is not speaking the best at all.
So guys, look, if you're ever around me, don't call somebody your old lady. I'll probably punch you.
Just putting that out there. So anyway, that we believe the best about them, we speak the best about them, and we leave them better than we found them.
All right, so let's talk about this in terms of a dating relationship. And again, we're going to keep bouncing back to these kind of themes, these ideas. And one of the key ideas, and we talked about this at College Getaway at pretty great length, of the idea of emotion versus truth. Love is not an emotion. Love is a choice. Love's not something that we respond to because we feel like it. Love is something that we choose. That's why marriage works, not because we so much feel lovey on a day-to-day basis, but we wake up choosing to love the person that we're married to. So that that mirrors in a dating relationship. So this idea of emotion versus truth, let's push it a little bit farther and not just talk about this idea of love. Let's say attraction is not it's not a truth. Attraction is like this thing that kind of, I don't even want to call it an emotion, because it almost goes deeper than that. It's a product of emotion. It's a product of hormones. It's a product of where you're at spiritually. It's a product of your goals. And so, you have at some point or another experienced that, where you are attracted to someone. That's not truth. That's not something that we can bank on. It's a feeling, more or less. So as we date, what we're saying here is that you should be carefully and consistently acting in your dating life. You should date carefully, you should date consistently. And dating is, and Krista can help me out here because I'm a guy and I have no emotions and I'm terrible. Dating is intended to build you up and to build others up and not tear you away from God.
Absolutely.
Now, do you want to qualify that some? Because that doesn't mean that dating is always easy or that you never get hurt.
No. We need to date carefully and date consistently. It's really hard in a dating relationship when you're not sure what, because I know you've probably dated people and you're not sure what angle they're coming at you that day. If they're mad or if something's happened and you catch the brunt, that you need to be consistent. That doesn't mean fake at all. That means absolutely true. You need to be truthful and you need to be your true self. And dating is intended to build you and others up and not tear them down. If this is the person you're going to marry or not, you build them up and not tear them down. You get it? You're dating someone's spouse. Girls, You're dating someone's husband. Guys, you're dating someone's wife. Treat them the way you want your husband or your wife to be treated. Also, it's not always going to be great. Breakups are not going to be, they're not going to be easy all the time.
I know none of you have ever had a bad breakup.
None of you have ever had a nasty breakup. None of you have ever
called us after said breakup.
These relationships are not always going to end well. However, I said this last week, I'm going to say it again this week. When you leave a relationship, when you've ended it, and if it's been cordial and you're like, I thought I loved you, but I don't. And he's like, I thought I loved you too, but I don't. So it's over. Let's end this. I've actually had a relationship end that way too. You walk out of that relationship and you take all the good and you say, I liked this personality trait. I liked the way I was treated. I liked this. I liked that. I don't like this. I don't ever want to be talked to like this again. I don't ever want to be made to feel like this again. And you take all of your lessons that you learn from those relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you move on. And we carry, I wrote this down because there it is. We carry wisdom from our past relationships, but we don't carry walls. And that's difficult. But when you step back and go, okay, this was for a season. This relationship was for a season. What lessons was I supposed to learn? What was I supposed to learn through this? What are the good things? What are the bad things? What are the things I will never do again? So I'm going to carry all that wisdom, but I'm not going to carry walls for the next person to have to break down. Or I'm not going to be like, I'm not dating anybody ever again. I'm not going to be treated that way. I'm done. I'm done with people. I'm over. This is it. We're going to carry wisdom and not walls into our next relationship. So we're good? Make sense?
And I'll say this, and this probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway so that I can say I said it. If you are constantly having to doctor your relationship with someone else because of your relationship with God, or you're having to doctor your relationship with God because of your relationship with who you're dating, get out now. You're wasting time. You're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and you're wasting a whole lot of time of God wanting to do something in your life, and you're occupying yourself with what is okay when God wants to send you something that's great. And so if you're having to constantly work on one because of the other, now's the time to pull the plug. Not tomorrow, not in 2 weeks, not see how it works out. Now's the time to pull the plug on that. What you do while dating reveals your character. It reveals your character to God. It reveals your character to others. How you date. I'm going to make a statement that I want you to hold on to tonight. And let me make sure I get it right. The patterns that you develop while you date will affect your marriage. If the reason for dating is finding the type, now I'm not saying the who as in like the name of the person, but the who as in the qualities and the characteristics and the attributes of the person that you are going to marry. If that's the process, if that is the purpose, then how you do that affects how you'll end up. Does that make sense? Anybody give me a yes, no, maybe? How we date, the patterns that you develop in a dating relationship will affect your marriage. I want to give you some Bible right here. 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 says this, "Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price, so glorify God in your body." I'll make a bold statement right here. How you treat your body reflects how seriously you take God's habitation in you. How you interact in a dating relationship is a direct reflection of how serious you take God's dwelling inside of you. And if I am haphazard and flippant and, what's a good word there? Non-cautious with how I conduct myself, it absolutely reveals to me, it reveals those around me, and it reveals to God how serious I'm taking my relationship with Him. Because I can say, God, you are everything to me, but if I'm throwing myself out there, I'm probably lying to myself, I'm lying to God, and I'm lying to everybody else around me as well. We're going to say some strong stuff tonight. I hope you guys...
I hope we've invested enough in you that you take this to know that we love you and we
Right.
want the absolute best for you. And we're going to tell you things that Hollywood's not telling you. We're going to tell you things that social media won't tell you. We're going to tell you the truth about dating, the truth about love, what the Word says. Okay? So it's not going to be what you're used to hearing, but I wish someone would have told me. So we are going to tell you.
All right, so we're saying that if we're a follower of Christ, we're a disciple of Christ, that I'm His, that how I conduct myself, how I treat my own body, the temple of God is what the Scripture calls it, is an indication of how serious I take that. We were having a conversation even this week that, we can say whatever we want to. I'm a follower of Jesus, I'm a disciple, I'm sold out, whatever it is. But if my actions aren't submitting to God, my question is if there is lordship, if there is salvation without lordship, am I saved if He's really not my Lord? If what makes me saved is me submitting my life to Jesus? And now listen, we've got issues. We're working through those issues. But if I continually am living a lifestyle that is in direct opposition to who He says I should be, where does that put me, really? Does it put me just offering lip service to God, and so I'm going to say it enough until it makes it true? Or am I living a life that is submitting to the will of God? That's what I'm after. In dating relationships, what we get a lot is people coming to us and they have this same question over and over and over. And they apply it to relationships, they apply it to activities, they apply it to whether they go here or do this or whatever the case is. And the question is this: can I do fill in the blank and it be okay? And generally my response is no. Because if you're asking me, you probably already have some apprehension about it. So if you ask me that question, we're probably going to be like, no, it's not okay. Because something in your spirit has already checked you about that. However, here's what I normally respond to with that. That is the absolute wrong question. If I were to go off on a business trip somewhere, I've been at home for forever. I wouldn't even know what that's like right now. But if I were to go off working somewhere and I met some lady and I constantly through that day thought, how close can I get to her? How much can I interact with her? How much can I touch her before it is adultery? Before I've cheated on my wife? How far can I push that before it's wrong? That's the same exact question we're asking when we say, can I do, and it's usually involved with something sexual, can I do this and it be okay? Can we do that and it be all right? Can we do this thing as long as we don't do that thing? And I'm telling you, that is the wrong question, because if you're asking, how far can I push it before it's not okay? You're not pursuing God, you're pursuing something else. You are going away from Him. If I'm asking myself, how close can I get to another woman before it's adultery? I'm not investing into her. I'm not building her up. That's definitely not anything that is helping her at all.
Any kind of culture of honor whatsoever.
Ultimately, it would end in my death anyway.
Most likely.
So, but you understand what I'm saying. When I'm constantly seeing how far I can push it before it's wrong, I'm asking the wrong question. If we are disciples of Jesus, the question is, how close can I get to Him? And when I shift my focus and I start asking, what can I do to make my life more like His? Then it changes everything. Then I'm not so preoccupied with what I can't do. I then become all consumed with the things I get to do. I hope that makes sense. So let me say this. Krista, I want you to hit that right there. If in dating, when you, and this goes with your whole stay out of the dark speech.
Yes.
When you withdraw yourselves from the body of Christ, so when you start withdrawing yourselves as a couple, as a dating couple, withdrawing yourself from the church, the Big C church, not your local assembly, you start withdrawing yourself from FCA, from your friends who are followers of Jesus. When you start withdrawing yourself, ultimately it is a recipe for unhealthy habits.
But I want to tell you, like he was just saying, like if you're running toward God instead of how far can I get and still touch God? Can I do this and when I pray, I cry? Or can I do these things? This is not just with things that are sexual. This is just life in general, anything. Can I go out and do this and this and this and then I come back and I still feel okay? Is it okay? Like, how far can I push my limits? What can I get away with and still not turn against God, run away from God, separate myself? But if we can focus on running toward God and we can focus on chasing after Him, the person you're dating will chase Him with you or they won't. And that's a sure dividing line, because marriage is hard, and we're going to talk about that a lot next week. Marriage is hard. Dating is hard. Dating is dumb, and I'm so glad I never have to do that again. Oh my gosh, I'm glad that's over. We were so complicated. It was just
I can't imagine dating now. We literally wrote letters and emails to each other.
I found some the other day.
We're older than Google, guys. We're old. I can't imagine dating in the climate that today is.
Not at all. Not at all. But you need someone who is chasing God like you are, going in the same direction with the same heart that you are, the same people, the same. It makes marriage so much easier and so much smoother when you're chasing Him together and when you're studying together and your hearts are running at the same speed and they're running together. Now, that doesn't always mean that like we're on the same level spiritually. There are days when I don't want to read my Bible. There are days when I don't want to be nice to people. And Justin is. And we balance each other out, pull each other up and that kind of thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that He challenges me. He challenges me to be closer to God. He challenges me and pushes me. And I hope that I do the same for Him. And now our kids are challenging us and pushing us to be closer to the Lord. And you guys challenge us daily. and you're pushing us daily to be closer. And those are the relationships. You need someone that's pushing you so that when you're reaching out to help others, you've got that strong base at home that is holding you. I've seen a lot of my friends struggle in dating and in marriage, dating with guys that are great people, but just weren't probably not the one that they needed. And that it has hurt their relationship with God. Like, it has put such a strain on, and we talked about this last week. Go ahead and talk about that, about that your relationship with Christ.
Show them the triangle. Do that.
Triangle. Here. We'll make, in post-production, we'll put a cute little graphic up so you can watch it later this week with all of the information on it here. But we talk about, and you've probably heard this, but there are 3 people should be in your relationship. You, your husband, your wife.
Or who you're dating.
And God. The closer that you two get to God, the closer you are actually going to be to each other. And if in that point that changes, then you know, I'm closer to God, he's closer to God, but we're not really jiving, then that means it's time to move on and find the one that you are. But in that relationship, if your relationship with God is struggling, then your relationship with people are, because you're not at a place of peace and joy and rest and contentment in who you are and what you're doing. And the closer you are to him, the easier it is to be that for someone else too in your dating relationship, that you move. So the closer you both are pushing toward God, the closer that you actually are to each other. And the blessings that he will pour out on you are beyond what we can say. I mean, we can give you testimony after testimony and story after story of how God has blessed us for chasing him.
So I didn't want this call tonight to be centered around the idea of, if you're a follower of Jesus, don't be having sex. However, there's a component of that we need to address, because that is something that we deal with in this role a good bit. Obviously, that's a component of marriage is sex. So it's hard, because from the time you're born to the time you die, murder's bad. From the time you were born to the time you die, lying is a sin. From the beginning to the end, there are things that are sin. And then we've got this sex thing that for us, for 22 years?
Yeah.
For 22 years of our life is classified as sin, and then for the rest of our life isn't. And it's a hard thing to handle, because the desire's there, the attraction's there, all the stuff, all the components are there. And then as followers of Jesus, we say outside of marriage, sex is sin. That engaging in sexual activity outside of marriage is blatantly, biblically sin. And so I want to paint a picture for you right here. And what I don't want you to hear is that sex is currency, because it's not. Okay?
Never.
In marriage.
Even in marriage, it's not. Put that in your book.
Sex is a currency. But I want to go back to the idea of investing in people. And I want to make a statement, and I want you to hear it, and I'll qualify it. In dating, you can invest in your marriage while dating. While dating, you can invest in the moments that you're together. Listen, guys, we want you to enjoy dating relationships.
Absolutely.
I'm not the guy who's like, oh, you shouldn't date, and we're gonna, issue a third party to go on your dates with. I'm not that guy. I've known pastors who would put themselves in text message groups with their church people, so that I ain't that guy. If God can't deal with you, I ain't that guy. So, you can invest in marriage, you can invest in moments, but with sex, you cannot invest in both. And any investment that you make in the moment sexually comes at a cost to your marriage. Whether you, the person you're with, end up married or not, it comes at a cost to your marriage. Before we got together, made investments in moments that has cost my marriage. Now, it's not something she holds over my head. It's not something I don't know how much you deal with that anymore. Anyway.
Not anymore.
Okay. But there were times that you did.
Absolutely.
Because investments in the moment sexually come at a cost to my marriage. But every time that I don't invest in the moment sexually, it's an investment in my marriage. We are getting away from this whole, don't have sex before you're married because it's bad. And that's what you need to know, and it's sin.
That's not true.
It is true.
But it is sin.
It is sin.
I'm just saying it's not bad.
Okay, we'll leave that aside. It's still sin. Still sin. I'm getting away from that. I'm tired of the you don't look behind that door until you're married, and then it's okay. Listen, we have to understand that it's not just it's okay or it's not okay type thing. It's I'm saving myself today because I'm making an investment in my marriage. And just like I said a little while ago, the patterns that you develop while you're dating will affect your marriage. The investments that you make right now will impact your marriage. If you are having to sacrifice the pleasures of the moment, it's okay because you were investing. Listen, you may or may not be with that person in 10 weeks. It will impact your marriage. You are making a very good investment in your marriage when you don't invest sexually in the moments while you're dating.
But just saying that when you're dating, hold that in your mind. Hold the future in your mind. Because it's worth it.
And you're not just, if you make up your mind, I'm going to keep myself pure in this dating relationship. And some of you have even had those conversations with us that I am committing myself to walking with Jesus. And I understand the implications of what that means for my relationship with fill in the blank significant other.
Yeah.
It's not, don't think of it just as I'm just having to sacrifice for Jesus. You are making an investment that you have no idea about right now.
Absolutely.
And I hate to be one of those, you'll understand when you're older type people. But whenever you're sitting in this position, if you got 3 little children running around, you will appreciate every investment that you made in your marriage when you were in the moments in your dorm room.
Right. I remember we had been married almost a month, and I looked at him and I was like, babe, nobody told me how amazing that sex in our marriage is in this relationship. All I ever heard my whole life was that it's sin, and I didn't want to sin, so I didn't. But nobody ever told me the benefits of that in our marriage. Also, gonna throw this out there that we had talked about this too, that you can make that decision from tonight.
Yes, good point.
That just he was talking about one of those we've slept together, so whatever, done it once, might as well, it's not that big a deal. Not true. Also, that you can make that decision right now, that from tonight until I'm married, I'm going to invest sexually in my marriage, pretty much. So from tonight until then, I'm going to treat who I'm dating with the respect for their marriage. Also, is that what we had talked about?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I didn't want this whole call to be
I
about
know.
that.
So now we're going to move on.
I think we're just about there. We want to reaffirm the fact that in dating, our goal for you guys, for whatever that's worth, is that you take the whole culture of honor idea and implement that into your relationship. That you're going to act in ways that best benefit people long term. Not short term, not in the moment, not what's most fun, But I'm going to act, I'm going to speak, I'm going to believe, I'm going to operate in a way that betters the person that I'm dating from now on. And I said this at College Getaway, I'm going to say it again. Krista said it just a little while ago. You're dating someone's husband, you're dating someone's wife. I believe, this is just my personal little thing, I believe that when you're putting in work on your end of it and you're actively pursuing God, I believe that He's able, because guess what? Somebody's dating your husband. Somebody's dating your wife. And I believe that whenever you put the work in on your end, God is able to keep my wife wherever she's at, somewhere over here. Hadn't got there yet. He's able to keep her just like you're attempting to keep yourself. Does that make sense? Hope it does. The Bible says this, and we're closing.
I want to say one more thing.
Please do.
Okay. One more thing that I wanted to add is that in your mind, have a set of standards or like a list of things that you're wanting in a spouse. And have those things set that are like non-negotiables. And like how they feel toward ministry or how they treat other people, how they make you feel, how they speak to you, how they treat you. Now you can take this is one of those places where you can take all the ugly in your life. If your parents had a bad relationship, if you were in a bad relationship, you can say, I don't ever want to feel like that. I don't ever want to be treated like that. These are some things that I want. And we put them high on our list. And when someone comes along and they don't hit those super important, I'm not going to waver on that, then you know that that's like a set. Don't walk into it blindly with just, oh, he's cute, let's try this. Have some boxes that need to be checked. And I will say, we've got Justin and I, we're at Southern together. We dated at Southern together.
At what point we dated for, you said it was 2 days? I thought it was 3.
One time we dated for 2 days.
We were like this. We were like best friends, always together.
Friends.
We were going to give it a go. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to date. 3 days later, we were like, 2 days later, we were like, this is weird.
We're just going to be friends. It was super strange. I don't know. It was weird. But we would get together with some of our friends and kind of sit around and be like, yeah, my mate, or this is what I'm looking for. This. They don't have the, just kind of talking. We're together all the time. My roommates and his roommates, we were together all the time. So we talked about everything. But on the list, my list was, I wanted to get married in heels. And I wanted my husband to be taller than I was.
Fail. In
my mind, the reasoning that he needed to be taller than I was is because I'm a very independent person. I can do just about anything by myself. Justin still gets mad because I don't ask him for help. Like I'm hauling a box up in the attic when he's standing at the bottom and could have handed it to me. I was raised to be pretty independent. And in my mind, I needed someone taller than I was and bigger than I was so they could take care of me. And that's where I had this set that I needed somebody taller than I am. And it got like, our story's a little crazy, but it got down to the end of our like friendship. And I was like, the only box that Justin doesn't check off is that he's shorter than I am. That's it. Like he is everything I could ever dream of in a spouse. And for 2.5 years, we had worked on this amazing friendship. And he was my best friend. And we loved, I would rather be with him than anybody else. We are incredibly blessed. And he was shorter than I was. And I'm not even kidding you. I would not, like this is how stupid I am. In my mind, I wouldn't pray like, God, I want to be shorter than he is. Because I was really afraid that I was going to be like paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And God would be like, okay, here it is. Here's your man. And I know that's stupid. I know it is. Coker's died. I know that's stupid. But those are things that went through my head. As I was, 19 and 20. I was like, I'm not, because he was everything that I wanted. And I remember like the moment we were sitting on the couch and he put his arm around me and he just kind of held me and I melted. And I was like, and I felt like I could breathe in and out and everything was going to be okay. And at that minute, I was like, he did it. Like, I don't care that he's shorter than I am. Like, God, I feel that. I feel that you made him to take care of me, even though I don't need to be taken care of. But I felt that when he held me, everything was okay. And that's one of those, at that moment, I thought, oh, on my list, him being taller than me is not him being taller than me. It's him being able to lead and protect me. And I had to shift the wording of what that was on my list. Although it was very important to me, it wasn't physical, it was emotional. And spiritual. That's what he was for me. So what I'm saying is, on your list, have your list of the things that
and
matter.
You may not get to wear heels at your wedding.
You may have to wear slippers. Cute little white satin slippers. And that's okay. But that wasn't just me. He had to get over me being taller than he was too. It was a huge debacle, but God fixed it. And here we are.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay.
We're going to bring this thing close. We've had them on here for almost an hour, so we're going to bring this thing to a close. Bottom line, guys, we want you to live in a culture of honor in your dating relationships. Be careful. My goodness, be careful. Be consistent. And then when it's all said and done, if you marry them, if you don't, if y'all break up next week, whatever, leave them better than you found them. And we're praying that whoever's dating you leaves you better than they found you. That we lift each other up. You got anything else to close?
Just friends, watch out for each other. If you see a friend in a relationship that they are constantly being torn down and being left in a mess, help them. Invest in them enough that you can say things like, she's tearing you down. He's tearing you down. When I see you, he's leaving you worse. Invest in these people so that you can say those things, because sometimes when you're in the middle of a relationship, you don't see it. And you want so badly for that other person to be something. You can see something in them that you want them to be, and they don't want it for themselves. You can't force that. And sometimes you find the silver lining that doesn't exist. So listen to your friends that care about you in these kind of things, because I promise God places them in your life for a reason too.
And I'm going to close with this, and I hate to keep going back to this again, but I will say it. Let me caveat what I said previously. If you're dating someone, don't pull the plug because you're struggling physically. Because you're going to struggle physically. That's part of it. We're not telling you that it's not a fight. We're telling you it's worth the fight. Me and homegirl right here.
Fought. Not each other, for sure.
Take up golf. Do something. Keep yourself busy. Because it's a fight. We get it, I promise. And if you're struggling there, come talk to us. We get it. We got it. We understand. We want you guys to be successful. We want you to live in a culture of honor. And we want you to date successfully because, date, that's great. I want you to have a successful marriage.
Because there's nothing better on the face of the earth than a really healthy, good, godly marriage.